Star Wars Battlefront, a dormant franchise that released once every half a decade and goes back to sleep but not before shitting the bed. When another one releases, it's always a moment of excitement. Whether you like Star Wars or not, everyone has managed to play these games as it's captured the minds of millions with its addicting gameplay loop. And for 2 decades now, it's managed to stay at a level of relevancy that can't be unmatched. So when the news came out that these classic games would be re-released in a brand new experience that promises a lot of improvements, from its online multiplayer to several quality of life changes, of course excitement was spread among the gaming community, and quickly snuffed out when we saw what was released.
I'll tell you the problem with the scientific power that you're using here. It didn't require any discipline to attain it. You know, you read what others had done, and you took the next step. You didn't earn the knowledge for yourselves, so you don't take any responsibility for it. You stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as you could, and before you even knew what you had, you patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You want to sell it. Well,
I don't think you're giving us our due credit. Our scientists have done things which nobody's ever done before.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they didn't stop to think if they should.
Okay, so this is a new thing for me. Usually when I make a video on something, I want to move away from the topic and immediately work on something new. But with other videos nowhere near done, and this doesn't come out for another week, I quickly want to touch upon the Battlefront Classic Collection now that almost like a week has passed by since the release of this, and I've been able to actually delve into every aspect of the game. This video was made within the first 4 to 5 hours of the game being released. I immediately made a script, I edited the video, and I uploaded it, and finally went to sleep around 7 in the morning. It was all intents and purposes a first impressions video to tell you, hey, should you buy it or not buy it? But now that I've had multiple days to play the game, I feel like I can properly have an actual stance on the game and make a proper review for it. So yeah, specifically from a perspective of a person who owns it on Steam, as I'm aware the experiences vary from platform to platform. Alright, just to be on the same page, what is it that we're actually getting with the collection? For $35, you get both classic Battlefront games in one download. Battlefront and Battlefront 2 are both here repackaged and ready to be played on PC and modern day consoles. Both games are feature complete and ready to play in both offline co-op and online with friends. Battlefront 1 comes with everything the game had back in 2004, while Battlefront 2 is sold as the actual definitive edition. The game comes with everything it had back in the day with the addition of all the content found on the Xbox Live version of the game. That version of the game saw the addition of 4 classic Battlefront maps and 2 brand new heroes, Kit Fisto and Asajj Ventress. What was once Xbox exclusive content is now being brought over to all platforms to play. The game has seen modern day enhancements, native controller support on PC, new settings found on all platforms, and graphically, the game has seen a big change with the addition of 4K textures for both games. We can now relive our memories of fighting on the Dune Sea, boarding the enemy cruisers, capturing command posts, watching out for those wrist rockets, and sacking the Jedi Temple in a campaign that for some reason still holds up till today. All just like the simulations. Alright, now it's time to shit on it. The Battlefront Classic Collection didn't just release the overwhelming negative reviews off the bat because of it was bad port, but rather because it was released a whole hour later. Yep, those of us on Steam, Xbox, and Switch were just waiting around until the games went live to actually get the privilege to download and wait even more. And once we finally got in, we were only allowed to play the game's offline modes, as the servers were, for one, not a thing whatsoever, as there's no buddy system to easily join with your friends online, and 2, the game for its first 4 hours was only limited to 3 servers. Yes, only 3 official servers. And the funny part about that is that if you were lucky enough to even join one of those 3 servers, you were not allowed to spawn in or just immediately crash once you joined. And this was not just a Battlefront 2 problem, but this was seen on the original game as well, as it didn't just have 3 servers to pick from, but as a matter of fact, Battlefront on release had 0 servers to pick from for the first couple of hours of the game releasing. But once they opened the floodgates, allowed people to make their servers, it was still plagued with a lot of connection issues. Server stability was non-existent, and as if you managed to get into a server, it was plagued with network issues, general lag, and if you were hosting your own server, you would be capped at 30 frames per second for some reason. Why? I do not fucking know why. If you pressed on a server, there was no guarantee that you'd be on the same side as your friend, since there's no party features like I said earlier. The server browser itself will not show the same servers for all users. This right here is fucking bullshit. It actually prevented me from playing with my friends and finding the same server so I could finally play with him. It was like that for who knows how long, and pressing quick match gave you the chance of joining a private password protected server, which, you know, why the fuck is it possible that the private password protected servers are not filtered out of quick match? Like, how big of an oversight is that? Going from one map to another map has the ability of just crashing your game or just getting disconnected from the server altogether. Simply deploying to the match runs you the risk of getting this bug right here, where the countdown to spawn in never goes past 1. You're basically forced to leave the game and either rejoin or find a fucking another server. But let's say you're actually in a match. Alright, well now you have to deal with the several visual bugs that plague the game. Server stability is fucking bad, causing every fight to feel like an Elden Ring boss fight where the enemy takes no hits and you die within milliseconds. Connection issues plague everything. Sometimes audio just bugs out and becomes non-existent. If you're trying to use mouse and keyboard after playing with a controller, good luck, because sometimes it just doesn't fucking work. If you're trying to play in a starfighter, well, better hope that you fly inverted, because the setting to toggle it on and off is not here. And to make matters worse, it's not consistent, as some ships control differently than others and don't fly inverted. When Inspire increased the player count to 64 players, they didn't think to increase the score ticket count, which causes for matches to end within minutes of starting. And all of this was seen in multiplayer only. And to top the last sentence off, this was experience found on Steam. I understand that this doesn't apply to everyone on other platforms, as everyone's experience is different. But I also realized that majority of people who play these games back in the day predominantly played the offline section, me included. And yet here in the Classic Collection, it's not without fault of its own. Playing the original Battlefront campaigns is a frustrating time for me, as for some reason, regardless of difficulty, the AI refuses to let you player win, as it tries its best to keep the score difference to be 20 tickets in favor of them. Now seriously, go try to play the first game's campaign yourself. Some missions see if you're winning, the AI will go John Wick on your team and eradicate people in mere milliseconds. And this may be placebo, but it feels like they tank more shots as well. This sudden difficulty bump in AI can be seen in instant action as well. Sometimes. Now in Battlefront 2, all the visual and audio bugs that are plaguing the multiplayer side of the game are all present in the offline mode as well. But it's not just that. Of course, it has its own set of bugs. Planetary bonuses in Galactic Conquest just don't activate properly for some reason. Do you remember the absolute amazing Battlefront 2 campaign? The Journal of the 501st? Yeah, it's back, with only half of the cutscenes. Yeah, for some reason, every single ending cutscene is just not present, like, at all, in any campaign mission. Guess there wasn't enough space to fit all those ending cutscenes in the 70 gigabytes it took to download the game. Oh yeah, if all of this mess of a release wasn't enough, the game comes out to be a whopping 70 gigs on Steam. Why? Fuck if I know. All these uncompressed 4K textures are not helping anyone, I'll tell you that. And the funny part about it is that modders have found out that the most simplest of textures for stuff like the color white was upscaled as well. Meaning all that Aspire did was just put the folders that held the textures and dump them into an AI upscaler, and called it a day. Really hard work was done for this remaster, I fucking tell ya. Oh, and before the release of the game, a modder made the discovery that they were in fact using his Battlefront mod. In the reveal trailer, for a couple of seconds, you see Asajj Ventress just chilling there, but the problem begins when you notice how she's chilling there. Asajj Ventress, yes, wields 2 lightsabers, but her stance is different to that of Aayla Secura. And back in the day, an easy way to mod Ventress into the game was to take Aayla Secura and reskin her to be Ventress. An old way of doing the mod, but it was still effective until modders nailed down her exact animations. So not only was Aspire taking a fan-created mod and not crediting him in any way, shape, or form, but they also managed to use an outdated mod, as the modder pointed out himself. And I find that fucking funny.
They can't keep getting away with it. This has to be a crime at some point. We have to hold them accountable. They are digging up graves and fucking the corpse right in front of us.
Aspire would quickly make a statement saying that the footage was recorded last fall, and so the game still being in a state of development, a lot of placeholder footage was recorded using what was available, and some of that footage slipped into the reveal trailer. A little goof, but they assured us they had no intentions of releasing the game using any community-made mods that went uncredited, and the community gave a big sigh of relief. Until the community realized that Aspire lied to us, as the mod is still found in the game after launch.
Burn already!
And the biggest stain of it all is that it's being sold for $35. A buggy mess being sold for more on a platform that still has the original releases listed. And to top that off right now, this alone is being sold more than the 4 original Battlefront games made by Pandemic and DICE combined. This was the easiest release imaginable for Aspire. Take 2 beloved games, touch them up just enough, and release it to the masses. The biggest layup in gaming history. A guaranteed money printer, and yet Aspire still managed to fuck it up. A colossal fuck up that should be studied upon. And all the signs were there, but we were so blinded by nostalgia that we couldn't possibly imagine how this would have backfired. This game just can't be recommended to anyone on PC, sadly. It's like the famous Count Dooku quote, "Twice the price and double the bugs." Over the course of the week, the internet has had fun with their new punching bag, and as a knee-jerk reaction, people quickly blame EA for some reason.
Bart, no! What? Sorry, force of habit. Lisa, no!
Yeah, EA didn't have a single thing to do about this release. This was all Aspired Media's doing. Admittedly speaking, I feel like I can speak for everyone, but no one is ever wanting a game to fail. No one is ever wishing for the downfall of these games because it's a lose-lose situation. No one wins if a game is bad on release. And we, the people who buy the games, especially don't win if the game we buy just doesn't fucking work. And the internet being the internet lashed out, as everyone, whether they like Star Wars or not, came together for the love and respect of the Battlefront IP, to laugh and shame the easiest layup in gaming history.
It's so bad, modders are posting bug fixes to Reddit with the actual lines of missing code.
Problem is, the online is kind of buggy at the moment. There is a server browser, pick a session to join.
Asper didn't fucking try! They didn't test anything! They didn't give any fucks! They just wanted a cash grab!
Only 3 servers were available with 64 slots, so a total of about 200 players, which means you had better odds of making it into the NBA draft and getting selected than making it into one of these servers last night. The competition was fierce.
You know, you don't need Aspire to keep this alive. In reality, this collection should have just existed to update this game so that it could run properly on modern systems. Why they couldn't do that and decided to actually go down the worst possible ways to remake this trash is beyond me.
Oh, this game it's like getting worse the more I play it. What the fuck is going on? Did the game just
Like I said before, it was the easiest thing they could have done. Just take both of these games, touch them up a little bit, add online multiplayer functionality, package it, and release it to the public. And every step of the way of that was plagued with disaster, and I fucking find it funny. From the initial reveal trailer using a fan mod that went uncredited and left in the trailer, to its fast announcement and equally fast release. A lot of signs were pointing to a rushed job, and no one expected it or wanted to admit it. One by one, people have been expressing their disappointment with the title, whether it be your favorite YouTubers or streamers, to the nice folks over at the Xbox store page.
For instance, on Xbox, Lorebagger writes, "This is like the equivalent of finding your kid 20 years later and you see them hooked up on Fent while gooning in their face." Everyone has come out to tell others not to buy this and vote with their wallets. The collection is currently sitting with a mostly negative rating on Steam. Many have now warned others either not to buy the collection or try your best to get a refund for the disaster. And now that the initial shitshow has calmed down, we can start to see the damage that was left behind. The game, as of me writing this, currently has 2,133 players playing in-game right now. That's fucking abysmal numbers for games with this big of a cult following. DICE Battlefront 2 has more numbers than this. And you can tell that most of those players are playing the offline modes right now. Because in-game, it's pretty much a ghost town, which is scary because I noticed these shockingly low player numbers on Friday and on Saturday. Days that you would think would have peak player counts, but throughout those 2 days, at most I would see one server be at max 32 players or so, and the rest of the other servers listed with anything from 2 to 8 players at a given time.
Don't be sad, this is just how it works out sometimes.
The Battlefront IP just can't catch a break, it seems like. A franchise destined to never get the respect it properly deserves. Aspire did what every modern studio does, and released an apology for fucking up the game. Sorry. We'd like to thank the Battlefront community for their overwhelming support and feedback for the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection release. At launch, we experienced critical errors with our infrastructure. The result was incredibly high ping, matchmaking errors, crashes, and servers not appearing in the server browser. Since launch, we've been working to address these issues and increase network stability, and we will continue our efforts until our network infrastructure is stabilized to prevent further outages. Please continue to report bugs, errors, or unexpected behaviors to our support team via our request form. Yep, this statement was not to apologize for the game's launch date, but an empty promise that work is being done in the background to improve the experience. A song and dance that we see from countless studios after their rush product is
is released to the world and is received negatively. And seeing days later that the player retention has gone down on Steam, it just goes to continue to prove that first impressions are everything. A game needs to have a solid launch if it wants to be successful in today's world. People just don't have the energy and, more importantly, the time to buy a faulty product and wait for it to be in a state that they can play. No one wants to buy something and feel stupid after buying it. I'm not going to lie, the big reason I even considered getting this was for 3 reasons. Achievements, verified on Steam Deck day 1, and finally to play these amazing games with my friends. The original games have no achievements whatsoever, and me being me recently, I've started to really get into games with the mindset of getting achievements. It's just something I do now, I guess. Yeah, I'm stupid. Last year I convinced myself to finally buy a Steam Deck, and it's been one of my favorite purchases in the past couple of years. It's been the reason why I've been able to clear some of my backlog from my Steam library. If you own this and have played any game released before 2008, you would know the process that is playing an old PC game with no controller support in mind on a Steam Deck. It's really horrible, and this was supposed to be the most optimal way to play these games, so of course I would buy it. A couple of years ago, the original game's servers went back online, and they were active for about a couple of weeks before just being forgotten. And with this new release, not only would I be at the start of the game to play online with the highest launch player counts, but I would also be able to play the multiplayer for the first game for the first time. So, me being biased, of course I would buy it, because I wanted to experience one of my favorite childhood games with multiplayer support. Nostalgia's a bitch, what can I say? And with none of that working as intended, of course it left a sour taste in the mouths of many. Just like every other bad release, there's a side defending the game, telling those that it's not a big deal and that it's just PC players overreacting, and well, I think the overreaction is justified. On PC, we have always had access to the original games for extremely cheap for years. The standard price is literally $10 each, and goes down to below $5 when they are on sale. Realistically speaking, there's nothing that these games could offer that we couldn't already do in the originals. 4K textures? Okay, we have that with a mod. The Xbox exclusive content? Yeah, we can mod that in. A live multiplayer with real people actually playing it? Okay, well you got us there. And when the big selling point isn't even functioning at release, yeah, a lot of nerds are going to be fucking vocal about it. How a bad port of a 20-year-old game is. But I also realize that this is just one side of the multiple-sided die. The release of the Classic Collection is much more valuable on consoles like the Switch and PlayStation than it is on Xbox and PC. Releasing these classic games on consoles that have had no way to play in the originals is great and cannot be underestimated. More and more people are able to relive their childhoods the way they want it, and a lot of new people are playing these classic games for the very first time. But the problems I've exclaimed aren't necessarily exclusive to PC. Multiple videos have been posted to the internet of Xbox players and PlayStation players encountering the same bugs and issues that are present on PC. Same with the low player counts as of recent. The game straight up crashes for people just wanting to play, and others have sessions where the game is just unbearable to play because of the connection issues. So in all honesty, I'm just here left feeling absolutely nothing after seeing another disastrous launch with the Battlefront IP tied to it. It's just something I'm gonna expect from now. Of course, I'm gonna warn people to not buy the game and refund it because this release does nothing that I can't already do to the originals, and I'm just paying an extra charge. I paid to be a clown. Alright, the question everyone always asks first, should you buy it? Well, that depends. What are you looking for? The answer varies from person to person. It depends whether or not you are on PC or consoles. And it also depends if you're planning on buying the game for its single player or multiplayer offerings. If you own this game on PC, I strongly just urge you to skip out on this release unless it's heavily discounted. Sure, both of these games are just one download, but when the game's file size is so bloated and games coming out right now don't know what file compression is, yeah, I can't really recommend this to anyone on Steam. Maybe if you own a Steam Deck, as I actually do prefer these versions over the originals on the Steam Deck, but that's a very small percentage of people who would benefit from this release. Consoles like the PlayStation and Switch see much more from this release. These are two consoles that up until the release of the collection had no means of buying the original games, so because of this, many are able to relive their childhoods again. So of course, if you own these consoles, you'll be getting the most out of this release. A sentence I can't really say for the Xbox, as it has something called backwards compatibility. Hell, they were also even available on the Xbox store page. So I can't really give you a fair stance for Xbox, as it really comes down to whether or not you have $35 that you just don't like. And that's really how I see this title for the most part. Yeah, the game released in a bad state, and yes, that was quickly being patched by both the community and by Spire, who quickly worked on trying to fix the game's glaring problems. Most of the problems was actually fixed by Spire a week after launch. That starts to bring up a bigger question that what bothers me the most. If it was able to be fixed within a week, then why wasn't it just fixed before launch? Why wasn't the proper caretaking for this release? Why did you guys just lie in front of our faces? Star Wars is no stranger to classic re-releases. It's basically what's been keeping the gaming portion
portion afloat as of the last couple of years. This year we got to see Dark Forces be given the remastered treatment and released on modern day platforms. It said that Night Dive Studios, the developers who brought us this remaster, were in talks with LucasArts for 5 years trying to get their chance to remaster the game and release it. A sign how passionate the studio was for the title, and the game ran great on release. So when I see 2 games that many see as the Star Wars games released in such a state, it just makes me feel stupid for purchasing the product. Yes, the game did get fixed, but the damage of the release has already set in. The game is struggling to get anyone on their online servers, and with no crossplay support, I can see the game dying off really fast. Some don't even know that the mess was quickly fixed, as some still believe it's still in its launch state. It just feels like another cash grab. So no, as a person who owns the collection on Steam, I still cannot recommend the game, as it's just not worth it. There's nothing here that we can't already get in the original releases. Even the abysmal online player count matches that of the original servers. If you have $35 you just don't like and want to get rid of, please just go spend it somewhere else, to studios who do deserve it, as they release quality products at around the same price point. But of course, I'm just speaking from my own experience. What's been your experience with the collection? Are you just like me who sees no reason in buying it? Or do you actually like the collection because it gives you what you wanted, 2 classic Battlefront games? Tell me down in the comments below, because I would love to hear what you guys have to say about it. And also consider subscribing, as it makes big channel number go up, and for some reason it actually works when you tell people to do that. Alright, now I go procrastinate March's LEGO video.